Okay, so today I will try to do some include some important cases for your references. So it's a very important topic. It is as a doctor, so we are the one who is going to assess our all external quality assessment reports. So what is EQA? So it is a system for objectively checking the laboratory's performance using an external agency or facility. So we have daily internal QCs there. In extra, in addition to that, we have an external quality control. This is from an external agency. So this is a method that allows for comparison of a laboratory's testing to a source outside the laboratory. It can be made to the performance of a peer group of laboratories or to the performance of a reference laboratory. So what are the different types of EQA methods you know? Yeah. So what is all this is known as? We can categorize all this. Yeah, this is proficiency testing. So any other EQA methods you know other than proficiency testing? But as far as biochemistry is concerned, we have PT. But for other labs, what are the other methods for EQA? That all comes under PT. Okay. So we have usually three methods of EQA methods. Even this is according to WHO. So we have proficiency testing and then rechecking or retesting or on-site evaluation. Okay. But when biochemistry is concerned, we can say we can interchangeably use EQA as proficiency testing. So both terms we are using. So this is a definition for proficiency testing from CLSI. It is a program in which multiple samples are periodically sent to members of a group of laboratories for analysis and or identification, whereby each laboratory's results are compared with those of other laboratories in the group and or with an assigned value and reported to the participating laboratories and others. So of course, the report should be sent to the laboratories and also to the manufacturer. So it is at the same time they are assessing the manufacturer of each analyzer or each reagent or our each laboratory. So why PT is important? What are the important aspects of PT? Okay. Yes. So it is a very important role in the quality management system because, and this is the commonest method of assessment in a quality management system. In a lab, when we are talking about QMS, the critical aspect of QMS is assessment. So in that commonest or easiest method is the external quality assurance. And it is also used to verify the accuracy and reliability of our lab testing. And we can assure the validity of entire testing system. And to assess the staff's competency. So who is supposed to do the external quality sample processing? Who is supposed to do? Sorry, QC officer. So this, if the QC officer, so all labs have one or two QC officer for each session. So we can say in chemistry we have one QC and hormone. If they are supposed to push the sample for each analyzer, practically it is not possible, and it is not supposed to do. Okay, maybe the QC officer can prepare the sample because there is a reconstruction step, but individual staff who is dealing with the analyzer is supposed to check or do the sample processing. Why? Yeah, exactly. So we are not supposed to give any VIP treatment for the ICA sample. Then only we can assess the actual status of our laboratory. So they can prepare and they can distribute the sample. And each technologist who is on the analyzer has to do. It is very important. And maybe some labs they will do it as a VIP. Before testing, they will do all the maintenance and the QC officer will go and process. It is not supposed to do. Okay. And it is also a mandatory element for the accreditation. And these are the other methods, rechecking or retesting. It is mainly concerned with other laboratories. So if for cytology or other labs, when there is less external quality assessment schemes, they can send their slides randomly to a central or reference laboratory and they will recheck. So then there is a physical checking of the quality of the reporting. Even polyclinic or even our in central lab, not in biochemistry, I'm telling, okay, microbiology, if there is an AFB sample. So one extent for they can send some random samples to the send the reference laboratory, and they will check and they will make a report. So we can have a comparison. So this reference laboratory will check the original report and their report. So they will check the quality of the preparation, quality of the person who reported everything. So this is practically doing okay. But the problem with this, it is more costly than actual proficiency testing, and it is usually it is doing when it is very difficult or impossible to prepare samples to test. So for biochemistry, we are lucky we can have a lot of PT programs. Another is on-site evaluation. It is actually much costlier, but this is actually the visitors will come to the lab and they will check randomly. But this is more time consuming and more expensive. So this is on-site evaluation. So what are the difference between internal QC and external QC?
External QC run monthly.
Or we can say periodically. So some is like twice a month, some maybe once in 3 months. So there are different programs. And internal QC,
Like a daily.
daily or even sometimes twice or thrice depending upon the sample load. So what are the other difference?
Uh, the internal quality, it's more essentially about the result, but the external more accuracy.
Yeah, I can say that. Yeah. Other than this,
Internal, we already have the value,
yes,
known
exactly.
value.
Yeah.
External, it's unknown.
Yeah, so external is a very unknown. So, and the concentration usually for internal we have normal and abnormal. Sometimes it's tri-level means normal, then high, abnormal high and abnormal low will be there. And it assesses the imprecision, the internal quality, and we can use the external both for the accuracy and imprecision. Usually in the internal, what is happening? We have only comparison between our labs. And there is a provision of unity report is there, but since from the emerge we have restriction of internet access, so some labs they cannot enroll that because that is a very good thing like external quality, okay, unity report. So and there are two types of external quality assessment schemes are there, regulatory or educational. It is also known as aspirational. So what is the difference? So regulatory means it is actually a minimum standard what all laboratories should have. And in that, it is maybe this is from mandatory or one, so Kuwait is saying, so you have to enroll this and you have to perform this much level. And usually the criteria or the limits are really wider for regulatory because it's supposed to, okay, if I'm performing within that, okay, you can practice. If I'm below that, no, you should stop working. So this is a regulatory. So it is a certain minimum standard that all laboratories meet, usually mandatory in a country to reach a certain minimum standard. Usually it have fixed and wider limits. Okay. And failure to reach that minimum standard may result in significant consequence to the laboratory's right to practice. So educational actually the aim is really high. Sometimes we cannot reach that goal, but still this is needed for the improvement of our quality. So it is also known as aspirational. So it is the purpose is to improve the quality of lab testing, and usually the goals are at a higher level. Usually most of the labs or we can't meet all the goals, but this is really challenging and we have a continuous training program will be there. So this is the educational schemes. So these are the main benefits of participating in PT. One thing is important for laboratory person training, and it important for delivering assured and trusted quality research to the customers, and also it is monitoring and improving the lab performance and important, and it is also helps in the method validation. So there is a so suppose we are going to introduce a new test to our lab, and if we don't have any comparison. So if I am introducing a test in our lab and Dr. Dana's lab has a method, I can send my sample for comparison. If there is nothing or our lab comparison is not good, maybe we are using an entirely different methodology, so we can't always say it should be comparable. So in this case, if you know that one of our external quality control system have a program or we already enrolled, we can do a comparison with the external quality control. So actually for our situation, when we introduce sync, we have some issues with comparison. Even though we tried to do comparison between KCC and our lab, no, it wasn't comparable. Our precision was good, everything was good. I'm talking about atomic absorption. So what we did, it was already, and at that time we were using the RICAS, the Rantox, and already for the chemistry, the sync was there. So we could access the result. So like 3, 4 times each month, we didn't enroll, but we were doing a comparison as a pilot study and it was fine with us. And that's why we started atomic absorption. But now we are trying to move to other methodology, but the external was not comparable. So we didn't take anything. So this is one of the other use of external quality control, I mean, EQA system. So before enrolling in any PT program, we have to check some questions should be there. Okay. So is the EK or PT material is commutable with the patient sample, or how many replicates they are measured, and how the target value for that program they established, what's the number of participants in the scheme and in a particular method group, how the measurement of method group established, and how are the performance specifications set. Usually, if you are working in a private lab, so you should think of all this because we are the one who is choosing the program. But sometimes when we are working in a government setup, we have some limitation to choose the program. But this is very important because sometimes we'll face, if someone else is choosing a program for our setup, we'll face many difficulties. Maybe for chemistry, maybe for hormones, it is fine. But you have a special test. In that case, maybe you have the authority to choose the program. So you should go through different programs. We have a lot of program and check. So how many, because if I want to introduce vitamins, so we are going to do vitamins in our lab. Because very rarely only people are doing in our, I mean, this is first time in Kuwait we are going to do. But other labs also in other countries, when we're checking, very limited number of comparison only possible. So we should think which one will be good for me. So what are the methods? So the method, it is HPLC we are doing. The other party also doing in HPLC, or they have the same instrument. So then only we have a proper comparison is possible. Okay, so these are the major quality of a PT material. It is about the stability, commutability, homogeneity, and how we can do the reconstitution. So what is commutability?
Similar to patient sample, like you can relate it to a patient.
Yeah, so it is how comparable with the patient sample. So suppose you have Roche analyzer is there, Siemens is there, and I have Beckman is there. So if suppose it is a commutable sample, what should be the result? So I have an external quality material from different analysis, or I have in my lab itself I have 2, 3 analyzer. So if it's ideally if the sample is a commutable, all should give a similar results. Is that, I mean, practically are we seeing or are we getting commutable material?
No.
Even though it is ideal, but practically it is not possible always to get a commutable material. Okay. So commutability, it is a property of a reference or control material that refers to how well that material mimics patient samples in measurement procedure. So it is a closeness of agreement between results of a reference material and clinical samples when measured by 2 or more measurement procedures. So usually internal QC or external QC materials are typically non-computable because they will do some modification to make it stable, to make it valid for these, because we have a large number of labs. So it is ideally it should be from a donor. So how much sample I can give us it, I can donate. It is not practically possible. Okay. So, or we can make a sample pool, but still for 1 month, 1 year, we are receiving the samples altogether. So it is not stable without modification. So ideally, I mean, practically, we are getting the non-computable samples. So these are the common EQA providers. And usually we are using most of the Biorad ICAs nowadays we are using. And before it was Rantox. And for LGC, actually, it is for the, we are going to get for drugs, for the therapeutic drug monitoring. But it's it to do the, I mean, under processing, okay. And you can ICAs, maybe we'll get for the amino acids soon for the, and And depending upon the labs and our special tests, we can choose other labs through the QC lab in Kuwait. So this is the normal procedure for any PT program. So the organizing laboratory or the PT provider, they will prepare the sample and they will send the samples to the participants. As participants, we will examine the sample, will report the result, and the organizer will analyze the result and they will prepare a report. And according to that report, we'll make the necessary changes. So nothing is gained from PT participation unless the information is received is directed to improvement in the laboratory. So most of the time what we will do, maybe we found some abnormality, they will try to amend the report. It is not supposed to do. If there is a problem, we have to check the root cause and correct it. Okay. Then only we'll get the benefit of participating in such an expensive procedure. So whatever, okay, do you know about the calibration correction? So when are we doing some calibration correction in our laboratory?
And QC is out.
No, because
You mean when you get a new lot?
new lot, or suppose I have two manufacturer. I have Beckman and Roche or Siemens for same test. Okay, so in that maybe we don't need to change the reference interval or reference range for this instrument. Maybe the manufacturer's reference range is there will be slight change. Even though it's overlapping, there may be slight change. But we don't want to give different results from different analyzer each time the patient is coming. So we can give a calibration correction so that we can make the results comparable. But when we are participating in an PT program, are we supposed to give the, yeah, we need to remove the bit. Why we need to remove?
Because the calibration correction is only applying to our lab.
Okay.
So we have to give them the uncorrected number.
Yeah, so always remember when we have this, remove the calibration correction. So the result is consistent with the manufacturer's non-adjusted calibration. Suppose tomorrow you are in charge of a lab and you have multiple instruments, you should think of all this. So maybe we are out or we have some issues, we don't know where is the problem. Okay. So what is PT referral? Have you heard of PT referral? Okay. So when I have a result, if I'm sending my result to the Jabar hospital and I'm not telling them it's external quality, I told them I want to recheck this sample. So without knowing or I know I have a friend there, so I'm sending them and I'm comparing my result. It is PT referral. We're not supposed to do that. And usually here nobody's doing. But some private labs or some other labs, they can do. Okay. Maybe the doctors or the seniors, they may not know it. From the technology side, they can do a comparison. Or they can even ask for their research. So they knew that they are also participating. These two things, it's not permittable. When it is known, it is considered to be intentional and it is a punishable offense. Okay. So this is PT referral.
So they take the results from the other labs and use it.
Or they can compare. Yeah, they can compare. Or if there is a huge difference, maybe they will recheck or they will do some amendments or
Before they submit.
before they submit. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it's a good idea.
It's a no, this is a good idea, but even see, my QC officer was telling, if you want a good result, good ranking in EQA, doctor, I can do it for you.
Yeah.
So they said, I'll run the QC for different days and I can give the best, or they can compare, or even average.
Okay.
So, yeah. So they're telling, I'll get a very good rank for you. And I don't know now it is happening here, but it was happening before in Kuwait. Okay, so this is possible, but we need to check on all these aspects. Maybe the QC officer, this is their image. Okay, so yeah, it could be some intentional. So this is not supposed to do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because at the end, they want to see the performance of their lab.
Yeah.
They just don't want to get the good results on that.
Yeah, but for us, the importance is give the good or best result for the patient. It's not about our ranking or nothing. Okay. So if there is an error in an EQA, it may be the responsibility of me or the lab or the EQA provider. provides some bad or something wrong, or the instrument manufacturer. So this is a equal responsibility for all these persons. So there are some limitations of PT. So it could be affected by different variables. So if there's a preparation of the sample, the matrix effect, because the matrix will behave differently with different analyzer or the reagent lot. And clerical function, there should be some transcription errors, because usually we are not writing down the patient result. But when we are noting the results from external QC, maybe they will write down in one paper, and then from that they will go to the internet access system and they will enter. So there is a chance for the transcription error. And by the EQA provider, their selection of statistical methods for evaluation can even affect. Then the peer group definition. So if there is a, we don't have a, so what are the minimum number of participants to assign a peer group for the comparison? For a,
Nine.
yeah, it should be minimum 9 labs should be there. Or if, and even we have a single unacceptable result does not necessarily indicate there is a problem in the laboratory, because sometimes we can see there is a bad, nothing wrong in our internal QC, nothing wrong in our patient, there is no complaint, nothing, but it can randomly occur. Okay, so this is the overview about our ICAS program. So just we need to register. They will send us the sample, we'll process, we'll report and we'll get the report. Okay. So this is just an overview. So I'll go through the each one. So here you can see the number one, our result will be there. And above that, you can see the instrument which is registered for. And this is our report with the unit. So make sure we enter the correct result with the unit. And then the two, which this is the 3 levels of comparison. Usually we are supposed to compare with the peer group if there is a minimum 9. If it is not there, the next group of comparison is, because what is peer group? Which we are using the same instrument, same reagent, everything should be same. Then only there is a comparison. And method means it may need not
Different analyzers.
different analyzer with the same method. Or then we have an all results. So this is the number of participant laboratories in each section, and this is the mean for each section and standard deviation. And here they are calculating the coefficient of variation, and this is the expected uncertainty. This expected uncertainty, when it's close to the zero, we are in a good position. So mainly when we have a result, I'm just looking into the C-score. So how our performance? So how the C-score is calculated? So we are calculating our result minus the comparator mean, which is getting from here, divided by the comparator ST. So this is our C-score. So what is the allowable limit for the C-score to be okay? I can say it is fine. Yeah, at least it should be plus and minus 2, at least. But there is a further classification, I'll tell you. But if it's within 2, usually we'll say, okay, good, it's fine. Okay. And we have a running mean C-score, which is calculating for the previous 6 samples. It's actually independent of the cycles. What are the cycles? The previous 6 results they are comparing. And that is the percentage that is calculated by your result minus comparator mean divided by comparator ST into 100. And this is the mean bias. So mainly we are checking in the C-score. Okay.
So the percentage is bias.
Yeah.
Okay. And so
Sorry.
for external quality, we can use it for the same manufacturer or different manufacturer.
Different manufacturer. Yeah.
We can use it for the
Yes, yes. Yeah, I'll show you. I'll show you. Okay. So here in the graphs, we have two graphs are there. This is the first one is the LJ chart, and second one is the, yeah, there is a how to pronounce.
land augment.
No, no. I have written there.
I can't forget. Young plot.
Jan plot, because this is the scientist name. Okay. So this is John Jan who created. This is the from Bayrard they created. So the name. Okay. So in the LJ chart and in the unit plot, we can see The white zone from plus and minus 1 C score, and the light gray, it is from 1 to 2, between 1 to 2, and the dark gray from 2 to 3. So when our results are within 1, we are performing well. Between 2, it is fine. And if it's above 2, no, we have to think of the corrective actions. And here in the unit plot, you can see in two extreme, and the what is the x-axis for the unit plot? Different target values. So you can, it is not about the dates in the unit plot. LJ chart, it is in the x-axis, the date is plotted, each sample date, and up you can see the target values. It is, but in the unit plot, it is very informative because how well you are performing in the extremes or in the um, decision making limits, we can see. If I'm out in the lower and upper limits, it is showing there is some problem with the extremes. Maybe there is some calibration issues, maybe something else. So this is give an overall idea about how well we are behaving in a different target value. And here in this section, we can see different analyzers and what are the each analyzer have how many what number and what is its mean, what is its CV. So later, if I want to change my analyzer, if I'm performing and I feel my analyzer have some problem, okay, we can get an idea of how many other in the worldwide other labs are using which instrument, how well they are performing. So maybe I can change one of my analyzer to another. So this one also you should check this one before making a decision or choosing another analyzer. Okay, so we can see if my peer group is bad, I want a good peer group, you should choose an instrument which is having maximum participant. Okay. So this is the C-score interpretation. If it's 0, I'm perfect. Less than 1.2, less than or equal to 1.2, it is acceptable. Between 1.25 to 1.49, it is acceptable, but we need to do some investigation because it is showing some changes. 1.5 to 1.99, it is also marginal performance and investigation is recommended. Okay, so if it's above 1.2, we should think, or in the subsequent cycles, we can see our C-score will be out. Because sometimes we are busy or we can't think, we can't rule out problems. At the end, we'll be out and we'll have a bad scoring. So the if it's more than 2, it is unacceptable performance and we should take a remedial action. So I'll go through some cases from our lab. So here you can see the ferritin C-score is 2.51. So this is out. So this is our graph. It is showing our results at 31.8 nanogram per ml, and the comparison is made with the peer group because there is a enough n. So the n is 122, so they compared with the peer group. So this is the first graph is showing the comparison with our peer group. Actually, when our result is, it is really out. Even though it's 2.58, it is the mean is 24, our result is 31.8. Even with the method, okay, maybe we can see it is somewhat middle, but when it's peer group, it is really showing a bad performance. And even in the LJ chart, we can see this is in the above 2ST. So, and it was previous 4 cycles, we had a good performance and suddenly there is a problem. So actually the problem was before that weekend we did a calibration. So when they calibrated, they didn't change the reagent. So they calibrated with an old, it was like only 20 tests were there, not 20, maybe 15, and they calibrated with that. And then they changed the reagent. I mean, every day, or every other day, we are changing the reagent. But when we are calibrating with the reagent which is having, there was more, I mean, it was on board for a long time, and it can impact our result. So even the external QC, internal QC I observed, it is going up. And the CV was not good. But I forgot to include that picture for the calibration. So we should always tell them before calibration, check the reagent. How many reagents are there? Okay, just check. If it's TSH or every day we are changing, so it is okay because it is really have a high turnover. Suppose it's like growth hormone or other test, it is there for a long time, better to change the reagent. Maybe they said, doctor, it is more than 20 is there, it is haram. But practically what we are seeing, they will do with an old reagent. It is there for a long time. We'll do the calibration. We'll do the QC. They will rerun the QC. Finally, we are seeing, no, it is not working. They will change the reagent. So QC, calibrator, reagent, everything is getting wasted and the time. Okay. So always tell them, especially for the test which is having low turnover, change the reagent before calibration. And you also, when there is a problem, go to the analyzer, check how many reagents are there. What's the problem? Where is the problem? Okay. And whether they give a proper thawing time. Everything you need to ask because each technologies every day they will change. They can commit a mistake or observe if there is uh, a bubble or there is some clumps is there. Just observe by yourself. This is the way you will learn. So this is another one for renin, which we are doing on the Liaison Excel analyzer, and our SS score was 2.14. Actually, for renin, we were doing good and still we were doing good, but this time what happened was only this point was 2.14. So I was checking because till then our Liaison was having a very good performance. So this is the first time I saw this is out. So they said the problem, the QC officer, they will prepare the QC and they will give to the differentiation. Usually I'll tell them same day process it. Okay, so when they're preparing, better to process it freshly. No, that time they said no, because we are not using Lyson for each test every day, like twice a week or some tests once a week. So preferably I told them at least for this time, do it on the same day. So they said we have to calibrate, we have to change the reagent sometime. So they find it difficulty. They want to check whether I could keep the sample, I could rerun. And next time also this cycle also they want to do. So if two cycle there's a problem, I'll tell them to change the practice. And actually what happened was they prepared the sample and the technology is supposed to uh, do the test. She took a leave and the sample was there in the freezer for 1 week. And in between, I heard there is a problem of power failure on the freezer. But they will not tell us this happened unless the result is fine. They will think if everything is fine, they will not tell us. Okay, so practically, these are the problems which we are facing. So, whenever possible, better to run the ICA sample freshly prepared. Okay, so this is, okay, I'll omit this. Okay, so this is the problem with the growth hormone. The set score was minus 2.06. Actually, yeah, our growth hormone was doing, it's not bad result. But last time what happened was, this is not last time, it is in the August. So this is the same problem with growth hormone. When the reagent is there for a long time, it can have a problem. Okay, because growth hormone, we have two analyzer, we have very less number of tests. The reagent will be there on board for long time. But are we okay? I can do one thing. I can change every reagent before running the ICA sample. Is it advisable or no? It is not advisable. Okay. So we are not supposed to change all the reagent, give a good maintenance. No. The way they are processing the patient sample, they should do it. But only thing when they are doing a routine calibration, we can advise them to change the reagent. And always check the number of tests remaining for a particular reagent before calibration. So we are not supposed to change the reagent only for the ICAS. No. Yeah, here we have a problem with the PTH. The C-score was 2.19. We have three PTH for different analyzer, two for Mubarak Hospital and one for dialysis. And every time I was observing, we have multiple problem with the PTH, especially when it is on the extremes. Okay, so like many months it was concerning me. I didn't understand where is the problem actually. So here I observe our peer group is only 8. Okay, so it was only 8. So they compared with the Supposed to, so if the peer group is 8, they're supposed to compare with what
Method.
method. So our value was 1.8. If they're comparing with the method, even the value is 1.72, my performance will be okay. But they're comparing with the mode here. Why? Actually, it was difficult for me to understand this initially. Okay, that's why I'm putting for you, because even I was confused. I was talking with the Bayrad person, Ruth. I was talking to other labs, so I couldn't solve the issue, because even though our result is okay, when we are comparing the comparator mean for the peer group, our assay is perfect. It is 1.8 and our value 1.83 and my value is 1.8. So I don't need consent. So we decided don't think about it again. So just leave it. But still, I was worrying why my peer group is 8. Okay. And you can see in the graph, in the extremes, I have problem, not in the other limits. So when the value is on the lower side or on the higher side, I have problem. So I am out when it is low and high. It is not only one analyzer. In the three, it happened multiple times. In between one of these or when the values are on the lower side or higher side, we are facing the same issue. And this is compared with the mode. Why it is compared with the mode, not with the method? Because here in the graph, you can observe for the method, there is two peaks. So it is not unimodular, so it is a bimodular. So in the it is a bimodal peak is there. They will not compare with the method. They will compare with the mode. So this will be, so there is a problem. Okay. So usually if less than 9 supposed to be with the method or with the old result if it is a unimodal distribution. But here it is a multimodal or bimodal. They compared with the mode. So this is explanation. So there is a two peaks. So that is known as bimodal distribution. But actual problem was we chose the intraoperative PTH. So in that we have very less number of participants. Supposed to be regular. So I think we need to do changes there as well. But it is good that I could do some investigation on the same issue. I was discussing with other doctors. So they said even though they have both, they chose the regular, not the intraoperative, but we chose the intraoperative. That's why we have the peer group of 8. So we need to change the methodology actually.
This is Collins, right?
No, Beckman. AU, yeah, Beckman, DXI. So here, this is a result for vitamin B12. And again, our C-score was, this is latest one, okay, minus 2.67. So when we are seeing the Levy Jennings chart, actually our performance, there is one out, but actually it was really good performance. So this was going really low. So then I found, and it was done on the 13th November. So I found something. You can see the calibration date. It was calibrated on August 3rd, and we processed after 3 months. So there is a delay in calibration. Actually, like 2-3 months from the Roche, we have a shortage of calibrator. So we moved to one analyzer with minimum calibration. So because we don't have a calibrator to calibrate. So we told them if there is a no problem in internal QC, just leave it. Even the application specialist, they advise this. But actually, what happened was later we had calibrator, but they're just following the advice. They're not calibrating. Okay. So, and also there is one more thing. We are not supposed to recalibrate for the purpose of measuring a PT sample. No. Here, at least within 2 months, you need to have a repeat calibration, but not for the PT sample, I'm saying. But then what happened? We recalibrated and we rerun. Still, the result was on the low side. So it was not, still the result was unacceptable. And meantime, we were thinking what was the issue? The other issues start erasing from the analyzer. So here you can see this is the result for a folate. And first time the result was more than the measuring range. So we asked for a rerun. It became the normal. So there is still confusion. So we asked for a rerun again for the third time. It was below. So that is showing there's a problem with the analyzer. The first thing actually it was showing is from the external QC. So we were thinking why usually after a recalibration and some maintenance, it is showing fine and with the repeat, it should be fine. But now there's a problem and this is the internal QC for folate, even though it is within, but we can see a trend, it is going down. Okay, so other issues are arising. That is, so what we have to do, we should stop the analyzer. We are not supposed to do any patient sample for any test, not only for the B12, because B12 also showing problem. That indicates there is some issue with the analyzer. So stop it. Okay, and still it is stopped. It's still, we are still, yeah. They didn't come to a conclusion yet. So the engineers are working on the
So for
same.
B12 and folate?
And vitamin D also we stopped, even though vitamin D was fine, but we can't rely on the result, so we stopped everything. Okay. So this is here I want to show you the PSA, not PTH. The PTH, the same issue was there. The PSA, the seesaw become minus 2.66. Actually, we had a very good PSA before, and this is just came down, and yeah, this was the calibration result. So you can see a CV of 12.31 there. Okay, but it is not supposed to be 12. Every time after calibration, we have to check. If it is something like 6, 7, and our internal QC is fine, maybe we will accept the calibration. But something about 10, no. Better to recalibrate. Okay, so the recalibration was fine, and our result was fine with the recalibration with the new reagent. It was fine actually. So, are we supposed to rerun the ICA sample? It is acceptable, it is advisable or no? Yeah, no. The ICA sample, once we processed, can we reuse it or no? Because it's already reconstituted. Yeah. Um, so it's there, and after a few days only we'll get the result. So here I'm telling, repeat total PSA was on mean. That means my result for repeat ICAS was on mean after recalibration. But it was advisable or no? The reusing of the ICAS sample, what we used before.
Supposed to be no, right?
No, it is supposed to be yes.
Okay.
If you're keeping in a proper way on the freezer, it is advisable. So whenever we are going for any article, they're advising us to reuse it. But you can do one thing. If you have multiple vials, so actually we have four vials for, three vials for, no, four vials for external QC for hormones. What we'll do, we'll use the two for sample. So we will divide the sample to one for the dialysis, one for the manual assays, one for a hormone, and the other two I'll keep it safe for us. So I will not reconstitute it. So whenever necessary for these reruns, I'll use it. And also I'll tell them if one I can use without reconstitution, it is better. I can keep it safe for many months. If there is a major breakdown, if I'm confused about my result, I can use it as a comparator. Even the um, when prepared one, I will keep in the freezer. But sometimes we can say it is not that stable for many days, especially for zinc or some drugs. We can see the rerun for the prepared one is not stable. Most of the time it is stable. So tell them after use, immediately keep in the freezer. Aliquot it, keep in the freezer. Okay. So it is advisable. It is not something wrong. Okay.
But you use it for your own lab to check,
Yeah.
not to supplement it again.
No. It's not. We can't submit it again actually. So after the date, we can't. So once the result is out, I'm using it for rechecking my system, whether that error is solved, or if I'm still my result is bad. No, I can't use it. And this is very good method for keeping the to have a check on your system, or you want to do some precision because it's really costly material. So and we can have a result, so we can double check our analyzers. So now after my issue is solved from the Roche analyzer, first thing after the intern QC is okay, before running the patient sample, first thing my advice for my technologist is to run the external QC and show me the result. If it's okay, I'll say, yeah, you can use for the patient sample. Otherwise, I say no. I'll call the engineer to fix the issue again. Okay. So here I can see my ALT result was, CSOR was minus 3.34. Okay. So it is really random. All results, I mean, before the previous multiple cycles, everything was fine. And when the result I got, I asked them to, I couldn't find any mistakes. My internal QC was fine. There is no problem. So I just asked them to rerun the ICAS and it was fine. Maybe it's a random error, it's some occurred because sometimes we can't explain everything. It was all fine with the rerun, so I didn't do anything because, but make sure repeat the ICAS is okay or no. Okay. Ferritin we already discussed, so we leave it. Here, yeah, I want to show you the another important thing. The cyclosporine, the mean was 125 and my result was only 30 with a C-score of minus 2.23. And we can see it was compared with the mode because peer group only 8 and the method was also like multiple peaks are there. Even if it's comparing with the method also, I'll be out because the mean was almost 120 and the result is 30. 30 means the result is less than for our analyzer. 30 means usually it is less than. Okay. And I can see multiple times before there's a problem, but that was with the analyzer. And this time I checked multiple times. I read it multiple times. QC was okay, internal QC was okay, patient sample was okay. I can't find the cause. Where was the issue? So I was checking I was asking the technologist, you process this correctly? She said, yes, the way I did it very correctly and repeated different times. And I asked someone else to recheck. They also rechecked everything fine. So when I was going through the SOP for the same, so what is the, how to do the external quality control samples for a, how we had to prepare the same way as the patient sample. So for the cyclosporine, actually there was a pre-analysis preparation is there. Yeah, so there's a multiple steps of preparation is there. So the actual problem is in between, like every 2 months, we are changing the technologies between the sections. So when they gave the endorsement, they didn't give the proper endorsement regarding the external. Everything about the sample preparation, internal QC, everything they train the new technologies, but not about the external QC. So external QC, when she saw it's clear, so nothing to do, no preparation. She just pushed it without the pre-analysis preparation. So after this is the same as patient sample. So I asked her, okay, this is the same way you pushed us patient sample. She said, okay, doctor, yes, doctor, yes. But the pre-analysis step, she didn't say. So she said, no, doctor, this is clear. What to do? Why to do? There is preparation. No, whatever for zinc also we have a pre-analysis step is there. For the drugs, some of the drugs we have a step. So all these we should make sure they processed as same as the patient sample. And we repeated and it was all fine. Okay. So, and always check the SOP for each test. So the from the ICAS, they sent SOP for each type of test. So they are telling the sample should be treated as same as patient sample. So if there is any preparation is there, it should follow the, it is applicable also for the external QC. And here, this is from the haptoglobulin. It is from the image. I can see 2.77. Okay. Usually our result was fine, but in between I can see it is out and then it is fine. It is also. So same like vitamin B12 before, we have a shortage of calibrator. Before, every week they were calibrating. Then with the COVID, what happened was there is the supply was not regular. We have an issue. So we told them to calibrate once a month. Then again, they we have we don't have a continuous supply. We told them just wait when there is a problem with the internal QC. So, but when we are waiting like this, we can have an issue. So after recalibration, it was fine. Okay. So it is if we have enough calibrator for such special tests, at least better to calibrate once a month. Okay, because this was immediately after the calibration, the rerun was fine. Yeah, this is another issue with the free cortisol that is from the urine from the RIA. Okay, so I was observing for the RIA, our result was really bad many times, really bad. Okay, to be honest with you, and the peer group was only one, so there is only us, and then our method also only two. So it is compared with the mode. Okay, But our internal QC was fine, and we are doing the processing for most or at least half of the Kuwait sample. We don't have any complaint from the doctors or anything because we are doing actually best. I mean, it's fine. So actually, what we did was finally we stopped the test from the external QC, not the test. So after that we were not submitting our result for the external QC because it wasn't comparable. Okay, because sometimes it is we can't say I'm bad with this result.
There's no any other
Yeah, no the peer
method
group
or
or no method, so it is not comparable. So because of that this bad result I can't stop my test because it was doing fine. If someone else is complaining or if my internal QC is showing problem, maybe I'll think, but no. So we stopped the external QC for this test. Not only for this, all RIA we stopped because RIA was giving problem, and we moved from C-peptide, IGF, and all to the liaison, and all were doing really good. Okay, but with the RIA, since the peer group is not there, we can't compare. So we stopped RIA completely for the external QC. Yeah, yes, yes, yeah. So here, another issue with the creatinine from it is registered for the Roche. Actually, we have urine creatinine for both AU and Roche. And our AU was really fine. CSOR is minus 0.75, but the Roche is minus 3.08. So this is, we are telling there is a difference between the matrix effect between the analysis. For the same test, same QC, both are giving a really different result. So we were called because it is not the first time it was having problem with the Roche. In between for protein and also for the drugs like acetaminophen, phenobarbital, creatinine, it is all giving. It's not really bad, but in between it is bad. It is okay. It was not stable for Roche, so they did maintenance everything, and finally it's maybe happened like almost an year back, not recently. So they were telling use sterile water for the injection for preparing your external QC material. Even though we are using a QC water for preparation, sometimes they're telling no for the Roche specifically, and also for the Tosho for the HbA1c. Whenever there's a problem, they tell us no, don't use the QC water, use the injection water. But there is a debate between us and the technologists and between the application specialists because QC water is supposed to be pure and it is supposed to use for the QC material preparation, and all our analyzer was fine with that. We don't have any issue with the AU. We don't have any issue with the DXA. So they're telling no, even for all your QC material, you can prepare, you can use QC water or sorry, injection water for preparation because this is purer than the QC water because it is for the IV injection. It is supposed to be more purer, and when we changed, even though we were not convinced, when we changed, it was fine. Okay, so now most of the time we are using IV water for the preparation of external QC. Okay, because this is more purer. Because two manufacturers like Roche and Tectron, they were advising us to use the sterile water for the preparation.
actually suggested.
Yeah, yeah,
But not anymore. So now you're doing IV.
yeah. So now we are taking the IV water from the works and preparing.
Not this one, right?
No, no, no. Usually with the 500 ml one, we are using. So here the other issue with the osmolality. So it is measuring in the osmometer, and our mean was minus 2.42. So it was like not only this time, even the result was better the cycle before. It is less than more than 3 actually, minus 3. So we called the engineer because first time we found the sample probe has some issue and we changed. And second time we called the engineer and they fixed it. They did a maintenance. It was fine. But actually, from the engineer, they were telling, no, this is a time for the upgradation of your instrument. So that means my analyzer is really old. Okay, but still it is working. We are under processing. But all this can have a problem for your external QC. And even for the small analyzer, what happened was the maintenance may not be that proper. Because we'll think about the chemistry, we'll think about the hormone analyzer, but the small things maybe we'll forget when we did the maintenance, when we did the preventive maintenance. So always you have to have a look on the time for the preventive maintenance. At least the technologist who is in charge of should think about the time. Most of the time, no, they're thinking it's fine. They can fix the problem because senior technologists, each session, they think they'll change the lab. I'm changing the cleaning the probe. I'm changing the probe. So I know. So they don't want to call the engineer. So they feel this is something insult for them. Some of the seniors. This happened multiple times. So make sure we did the preventive maintenance every quarterly for each instrument. So usually these are the three main reasons for unacceptable PT results. One is failure to adhere to the scheduled instrument maintenance procedure, calibration process, and management problems for reagent. Almost 49% cause is this one, and which can all be corrected fundamentally. So, and most other important thing is there is a lab record should be there. So, if a maintenance of a proper laboratory record, we can check when we did this, when we calibrated, when we did the PMC, all should be documented. So make sure this is documented from the technology side. If there is any problem from the internal QC or other issue, they have to document. Whenever the engineer is coming and doing something, make sure they have documented. Then only we have a proper record and we can check for the reasons for any unacceptable internal QC or PT performance. So actually, we already discussed this one. Okay. So this is the flowchart for handling deviating EQA result. There are like almost 50 things. I'm not going to the details, but this is for your reference. I'm telling the first and most common one is the transcription error. When there is a problem with the getting recording the result from the instrument or while entering the EQA site or unit, or sometimes we can enter the wrong result for another test. It all is happening, and practically this is happening. And this is the responsibility is participant responsibility. And if we found something, actually we can this clerical errors we can amend. So in the report, we'll get a amended report, but still it is fine. But not for other mistakes. If you have a bad result and we recalibrated and the next time it's fine, you're not supposed to amend the report. But clerical mistake or transcription errors, we can request for a amendment. So this is a counted for the 3/4 of the mistakes, usually the transcription error. Then we have a pre-survey issue. This is mostly with the issue with the provider because when they are packing the sample or error in the sample label or they are distributing a wrong sample to us or there is a problem with the homogeneity or stability, this is all the responsibility of the EQA provider. Then other issue is the sample receipt or handling. So after receiving in our lab, where you are keeping, because this is 12 cycle we are receiving in advance. So our freezer have a problem, it can affect the rest of the cycles. So make sure it is proper, the temperature is maintained properly. And when we are receiving the sample, also observe whether there is any leakage or something wrong or yeah, all these things we can observe and and make sure this sample is for us. It's not for hematology. We can't just keep things there. Everything we need to check before keeping it for the storage. So whenever we are accepting this, check these mistakes. And the other is during the test performance. So maybe there is a change in the instruction for the manufacturer or there is a problem with our equipment calibration. So these already we discussed. So then there is a issue from the EQA provider regarding the data handling because if they are assigning us to a wrong peer group or they are using a wrong statistics, this is their responsibility. Okay. So at the end of each cycle, this is the cycle 21 for the chemistry. So it's from July to July. So this is our end of result for the last year. We can see one was really bad for us for the iron because it was C score was more than 3. But otherwise, actually for the chemistry, the performance was really good for us. And this is the way they are presenting the mean C score for each test. So you can see for the sodium, our mean C score was 0.47. It's really good. And this is the distribution of the C score from 0.44 to, sorry, 1.76, and this is the our position, and this is our position for the transferring. So each analyte they will give us a comparison, And also this is the National Peer Performance Score histogram. And here this the national and this is the worldwide performance score histogram. So for each analyte at the end of the cycle, they will provide us with this data. And after participation, we'll get a certificate of achievement as well. Okay. And my references was TEETS and IFCC, WHO as well. Okay. Thank you. So any questions?
The bias, you mean?
No, no. So suppose here, yeah. No, 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 no. Yeah, so here in any result, so rerun, actual mean was 414 and our result was 543. So he meant, suppose with the rerun, it is around 500 or 450, whether it's correct or no, because it's not the exact value. So how to calculate? Okay. Okay. Uh,
Calculate. The old result minus the new result divided by.
Actually, the answer is here itself. You can get the answer from there. Yeah. No, no. Get the answer.
Result minus the mean or mean
Yeah.
divided by the comparator.
Comparator. Yeah. Yeah, sorry, I'll just.
So you mean we calculate a new least score?
Yes,
Ah,
then only we know it is comparable or no. Or just make sure with the ST whether it is within, we can make sure with the comparator mean. But better to know your C score, we need to calculate by yourself.
Mm.
Okay.
because we're not going to be submitting it to them.
No, no,
We're
no,
going
no.
to
We are not
submit
supposed to.
for
No,
us.
it's for us. So with the rerun of ICAS, whether we are okay or no, we need to calculate C score or with the ST.
Mm.
Okay. But we are not supposed to amend the report unless this is a transcription error. But many of the labs, they are doing the amendment, but it is not advisable. Because we'll get a score, even though there is an amended report, we may get a better scoring at the end, but it is not supposed to do. So if there's a transcription error, because last time also we had some issue with the, I think PSA, it was supposed to be 17, they entered 1.7. So I was wondering because other analyzer it is 18 and here it is 1. I told, no, you didn't see this big difference between these two analyzer. So she was saying, no, doctor, we don't have a problem. So I checked the actual result. It was noted in a paper. It was fine. So when they put it become 1.7. So that kind of errors I told them request for an amendment because this is not our actual issue. But otherwise, if the actual result is 1.7 with the rerun, we are not supposed to amend. Okay. Yeah, actually, this is not by us. The selection is by the QC lab. Yeah, so if it's some special test, maybe I can request for something, this one I want, because for the drugs, we chose this LGC because we have very less providers for the anti-epileptic drugs. But otherwise, here in Kuwait, for all MOH hospitals, this is through QC lab. So they are choosing the program. Before it was Randrox, now Bayer. Next time we don't know who it will be. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Yeah.
Do you want to have a break or something?
Can take a break.
10 minutes, 15 minutes. 10 minutes, 10 minutes.